Why are you in a hurry? I'm not going anywhere. I mean, after all, I am in you. As soon as he called out the system, a slightly irritated voice resonated in his mind. Jun-won wondered where this system got its attitude from after hearing it. What? Do you have a problem if I have an attitude? I'm not like those cheap prototype systems which are mechanical slaves to their owners and only have basic functions to make their owners stupidly strong. I got none of the stupid features. And don't think you can hide anything from me. I can even read your thoughts. Hearing a sneer from the system and its dissing other systems was weird for Jun-won. He didn't even know what this so-called system was, and now it was talking about other systems. Well then, tell me about yourself. What are you? And why are you inside my head? Is this black magic? He thought it was black and forbidden magic from his old world and was concerned but also puzzled because he thought magic couldn't exist in this world. Well, my name is Guidance System. My primary task, or you could say my feature, is to guide my user, which is you. I give out suggestions and show you the path you can take when you are puzzled. I'm mainly here for you to reach your goal, which is obviously becoming a famous actor by your memories. Jun-won finally understood what it was after its basic introduction. This system was there inside him to guide him towards his goal by giving suggestions. This was something valuable once he thought about it. He was in a new world and knew nothing about it. Something like the guidance system was good and helpful in his journey, which was bound to be shaky for him. Well, now for the rest of my questions. How did you get inside my brain? And what do you mean by other systems? Does that mean there are other people out there with systems too? How did I get inside your brain? It might have been a god who granted that soul's wish to give you a good life after you died. Yeah, it was that woman's soul. When God asked her if she wanted to reincarnate, she chose to give you a system and a chance to live the life you always wanted instead of herself living another life. Woman? What woman? Your wife. What was her name again? Zen. Zen Quinn. She did that? But why? Jun-won sat in a daze as he heard the system tell him how he got the system. It was his wife. She chose to give him this power in life instead of using it to live another life. Hey, what are you getting so emotional about? Knowing God, he might have reincarnated anyway. So who knows, she might be in this world. What? Where? How can I find her? He instantly woke up with hope in his eyes. He wanted to meet his wife, the wife he understood and loved too late. If had a chance, he would give everything he had to her. Whoa. Don't get too hyped. I only said there was a chance, it's not certain. Who knows if your wife even knows all her past memories to remember you. So leave it up to fate, and who knows, if you are lucky you might meet her. This instantly popped all the energy he had as he laid on the couch. Well, now that this all is out of the way, let's continue with your questions. There are other systems but are mostly prototypes that were made for God's amusement. All of them were a failure, not giving God any entertainment because their users would become too powerful and dumb. So I am a complete product. Those were simple brainless systems, while I am different. I learn from your surroundings and improve myself. That's also why I have these emotions. I was waiting for you to complete the hidden mission and got bored. So I observed and learned more about humans. It responded with some pride. Now about other system users. There shouldn't be any other users in this world. It's a pretty basic world with no power in it. So it wouldn't handle another system user. There are limits to worlds after all. If it was your old world, there would have been many because its limit is more. Jun-won felt a bit relieved when he heard that and digested all the information he just received from the system. The system seemed like a human living inside of him. It has characteristics of human feelings like irritation and pride too. Now the main question, do you really read my thoughts and stuff? Because if you can, I might like to turn off that feature. He felt really uncomfortable that this system could read his thoughts, too. He didn't like someone else, even if it was the system, to know what he is even thinking about. Ha ha ha, of course not. I cannot believe you actually thought I could. Of course, I cannot. I only predicted what your reaction and thoughts might be and answered them. I mean, I did see a lot of reactions when the prototypes were used. So it's easy to guess. God didn't make me be a stalker and creep you out. Jun-won instantly felt relieved when he heard its answer. He felt as if he was free again. He leaned back and didn't talk for a while. He was thinking about how the past week was, from being reborn to getting to act again to gaining a system. It was a roller coaster ride. Discover EU chapters at novelby.co. He grinned slightly and asked, so now, system, what next? Do you have any suggestions for me? Well, let's first start with the audition you have coming up then. Based on the movies you saw and the acting of that heavenly king Dongbangja, you are far from being the best at acting even after your past life. Especially now, because you haven't even regained your former touch in acting and you were only able to shine in that drama today because of the small role and the rest of the actors being horrible. Hearing its suggestion, he couldn't help but raise an eyebrow because most of it was true. He was only able to shine because of the small role and the rest of the students being terrible at acting. But he felt like his acting was normal again, but this system is telling it isn't. Well, so you are saying that this audition is going to be tough for me? Yes, I do think there is more of a chance of them rejecting you. I mean, think about it. You have only ever acted in dramas or live plays and never ever heard of movies till recently. So even if you were able to bring out your best in that audition, they might not choose you over an A-listed actor in a $20 million movie. It will be tough. But I don't think you need to be let down because of my speculation. My predictions aren't yet that accurate. I mean, humans are very weird, so who knows, you might get selected. But this is also a nice measurement scale for you at the present moment. You will get a grasp of the industry standards and can improve from there. Jun-won kept nodding as he heard its explanation. Even though he was extremely confident in his own acting, it didn't mean others would find his acting good enough, especially when he is up against an already established movie star. Well, for now, let's do our best and see how things roll out. Coming to a conclusion after a long talk with the system, he felt hungry. As he stood up, his phone rang, and it was the supermarket's owner. Taking the call, he heard Jimda on the other side. Jun-won, your acting was fantastic today. You are really good at it. Did you pass the test? Yes, manager, I did pass the exam. And how do you know about my acting? Did you guys come to the exam? Yes, we did come to the exam. Me, Sanu, Gasu, and even Eum Kyung came cause he wanted to see how good you are. We all are surprised by your acting. Anyway, now that you passed, let's have a party. Don't worry, I'm going to give it. So come to the store in 10 minutes. And the call got cut. Junwon looked at the phone before going to his room and changing his clothes. After 2 minutes he came out of the house wearing a hoodie and pair of shorts. He quickly made his way towards the supermarket and saw a few people already waiting for him before the shop. It was Jimda and the rest. Sunda was the first to notice him and started waving his hand. The high school kid couldn't wait to go out and eat. Ah, you are finally here. We were getting bored waiting for you. Your acting was fun, I enjoyed it. NE/W novel chapters are published on no/vel/bin.co/m. Senior, your university is so big. Too bad I'm not into arts. The first to speak was Gasu, followed by Eum Kyung and Sindawan. He nodded and gave a short reply to all three of them before turning towards Jimda, who was going to give the party. Well, then now that you are here, let's go and have dinner. There is a good barbecue place nearby, we can have some beer and meat. No beer for you, Sinda. He turned around and started walking after shutting down the high schooler's sudden enthusiasm. As the rest followed him on the street, Junwon received a text and took out his phone. It was about his bank account getting credited with 25,000 cross. Seeing the message, he knew it was from Yoonghwa. He expected to receive it after she goes back to town tomorrow, but the girl just had to complete it. He sent her a quick text thanking her before keeping the phone back inside the pocket and turned to Jimda. Boss, why don't I give the party tonight? I have money on me tonight. He didn't want to be a burden, and now that he got the money from Yoonghwa, he could pay for it. Jimda didn't even bother to turn his head around when he heard him and waved his hand before replying, don't talk about it. I already decided to give a party to celebrate your acting. Save yourself some money, you are still young. You can give us a party when you land a role. Junwon could only give up after getting completely ignored a couple more tries. They finally reached a small restaurant, and Jimda turned around. This is the place I have been talking about. Don't judge it by how it looks now. I ate here even in middle school and high school. It's a family-run business, and it's been going on for 3 generations. Right now the owner is my friend who I used to go to school with and went in. The rest looked at each other before shrugging and following the man in. The boss was paying and he said this place was good, so they had to trust him at least a little bit. The shop was relatively small, with a few tables and chairs. The boss was already at the counter ordering some beef while chatting with another middle-aged man who was wearing an apron. The guy I was talking to earlier is my friend who runs this place along with his wife now. Jimda explained as they sat at a table. Junwon looked around and saw the small place was quickly filled with people eating meat over some drinks. Most of them looked like office workers who just got out. It didn't take long for the food to come. The owner set the grill which was in the middle of their table, and then provided them with cuts of meat to eat. Jimda, who was the most experienced among them all, took the initiative to grill the meat while they waited. As Jimda was cooking the meat, Junwon asked Sanu who sat beside him, who is taking care of the store if you and the boss are here. It was generally Sanu who worked at this timing and the boss would be there most of the day. Oh, I didn't go to work today. I generally don't go on weekends too like you, because I go to a prep school to prepare for exams which are this summer. I came here right after my prep class was completed. So the store has another employee and the boss's wife is looking over the place in his place now. Junwon nodded and thought about his sister when he heard Sanu say about exams. Both were of the same age and need to attend a national exam for university spots. One of them was going to prep school, while the other doesn't go home and brings worry to her parents. He decided to ask Yoonghwa tomorrow if she can check on her after she reaches the town. Even though he really doesn't know them, he feels responsible for her. This was Junwon's memories and feelings slowly mixing with the ones of Zensu. He didn't even notice that his decisions and thinking is slowly changing as both memories are stabilizing. The dinner went smoothly as he talked with Eum Kyung about his book as he finished it and gave him some feedback as a reader. They all separated after a full meal as he walked back home, but stopped in front of the building. He didn't go in and just started to walk towards the park. He wanted to digest some of that meat. He took a slow walk towards the park while looking around. There were quite some people on the streets as it was a Sunday. A few high schoolers were with their skateboards and in gangs. A few couples here and there. The street was not as deserted as it was normally was. The area he lived in wasn't the best place, as he could see a few hooligans selling drugs here and there. He finally reached the park and sat down after searching for a bench a long time because of all of the sudden couples. His phone started ringing, and he checked to see it was Kim Min-sok, probably about his exam's result. He picked it up and heard an anxious voice on the other side. How did the exam go, Junwon? It's okay if you fail, I won't be angry. And assured him before he could even respond. Dad, calm down a bit. Take a few breaths. Why do you think I will fail? I did well and passed. I was in the middle ranks of the class. Everything went well. He assured him. Min-sok was instantly energized when he heard he passed and said, ha ha ha, that is wonderful Junwon. It's great that you passed. Dad is proud of you. Now, where are you? You should go out and have a party with your friends to celebrate the moment. Should I transfer some money to you? Junwon sighed at how the man was always worried about how much money he had. This could only be because the speed at which the old Junwon spent was that quick, making the old man worried. No, it's all right. I already had a little party, I'm in a park right now resting. What are you doing? Is Yoonhee home? Ugh, don't remind me about that child. She came back very late last night, didn't even bother telling me where she was all that time. Today she woke up at 11 and went out rushing and didn't come until now. I am very concerned about her after all the exams are only 3 weeks away. I don't know what to do about her. His voice instantly fell after mentioning Yoonhee. His voice was full of helplessness. Junwon felt bad for him as he heard his worries. He was a father, after all, and could feel his helplessness. He encountered something similar to his second son, who lived life leisurely because his brother was the crown prince. That made him worried about how he would turn out. But it was solved when his wife gave him a harsh beating in front of everyone one day because his activities were going too far. After that day, he slowly changed and studied martial arts better to become a warrior like his mother. It was also he who cried and grieved the most when she died. Don't worry about it, Dad. She is in her teenage years. Teenagers are generally more secretive and rebellious about things. I'm sure she will fix herself in these upcoming days. He comforted Minseok. If she doesn't, even after asking Younghwa's help, I'll have to go there and fix her. Ha ha ha, it's reassuring hearing it from you even though you are also still 19 and in your teenage years. It looks like you matured a bit after going there. Let's hope what you said was true and she will get her life together. Explore new ovals on nfelby.com. Junwon was only a year older than his sister and was still 19, but was very old inside. They continued to talk for a bit before Junwon made his way back and jumped on the bed after a busy day as he still had work the next day. He doesn't even notice how his personality is changing because of the old owner's memories. He isn't someone who thinks much about others, but today he is concerned about his sister and father. Well, everything is for the better. The system murmured to itself and no one heard it. The next day went smoothly as Junwon woke up and went for his jog before taking a quick bath. He slowly ate some cereal with milk while thinking about the things he had to do. After the shift, he needed to go to Do-won's production company and get his audition script. Do-won mentioned he needed to learn a 2-page script from which they could ask any part for him to perform. The script they would give him wasn't part of the original movie script but a random practice script they made for auditions. After getting the script, he would come back and start preparing for it. It was Monday and Do-won told him that he needed to give an audition on Wednesday itself because they were only free at that time. So he had only 2 days at max to prepare for the audition. Thinking of all that, he noticed it was almost time and quickly washed the bowl before making his way out of the house. As he made his way towards the store while listening to some music, he heard his phone notification sound. He checked and saw it was a text from Hee-young. When are you going to the company for the script? He looked at the message for a few seconds before deciding to ignore it. He didn't have the energy to deal with her. He could guess why she asked that question. She might want to come along with him for amusement, and he didn't want that to happen. As he ignored it, a few messages kept coming, but he didn't even bother to check them and turned the notification sound completely. He reached the store and saw Eum sitting on the counter, scrolling through his phone. Greeting him, he made his way back and changed into the uniform. As he sat beside him, he could see the tiredness in his eyes and knew he was tired from the party the previous night and the drinks he had with the owner. His shift was very early, so he probably didn't have enough time to get over it. He didn't have many drinks. He never liked the taste of alcohol and would only drink wine at most if he was in the mood for it. But there was only beer yesterday, and he only drank a few sips because Jimda forced him to. Both of them continued to work in silence as Junwon didn't want to disturb the poor man, who probably wanted some sleep. The 30 minutes went quickly as Ga-soo walked in, and Eum quickly took his leave. Time quickly passed by as both of them continued to work while having some small chat. Ga-soo still had her classes, as the financial management course was longer than acting. Her classes would still go on for another 2 weeks before they had to go for an internship the last year to earn experience. In the quiet store, both were having some small talk to pass the time when the door opened and Hee-young marched in like a demoness. She noticed Junwon behind the counter and said, "Why didn't you reply after the first message? You do know that I can see if you saw my message or not, right? You didn't even bother to look at the other messages." The way she told her thoughts could be easily misunderstood, and Ga-soo misunderstood. She wanted to quietly walk away and give both of them some space as she thought it was something personal. Junwon noticed this and said to Hee-young, who doesn't have any awareness, "Quiet down and once think before you talk. The way you told now could cause many misunderstandings." Hee-young paused for a second when he heard him and thought back to what she said before replying, "Don't have the brain of a monkey. Do boys always have such an idiotic brain?" Junwon raised an eyebrow after hearing her but didn't bother to correct her that it wasn't he who misunderstood. He sighed and asked, "Anyway, why are you here?" "About the message this morning." Hee-young didn't bother replying as she just nodded while folding her arms and looked down on him. Junwon didn't bother standing up from the chair and said, "I know what you would ask if I told you when I will be going there. So I didn't bother replying. I want to go alone and if you come with me it's too much attention towards us." "Well, you clearly forgot I know where you work. Now that I am here I'll wait till you go there." And took a seat behind the counter. "Why do you even want to come? It won't be any fun for you, anyway. Don't you have any other work to do? If you don't then go give some auditions or improve your acting, after all, you are still majoring in acting. Fiend up TED ovals on n/v/elbin.co/m. She looked at him with her head held high and said, "What audition? I don't need to audition, I am in a film and the shooting will also start soon." Revealing a secret without noticing. This took Junwon back. He never saw her acting and even though people shouldn't be judged by looks, it was still surprising for him. He never thought that she already had a film to act in. "Wait. You are in a film?" As he asked her, it dawned on her what she just spoke, and loomed around to see if anyone else was there. Ga-soo was far away from them, fixing a few shelves, and she whispered to Junwon, "Little brother, do not tell anyone about this. I wasn't supposed to tell anyone that I am in a movie." This took him back once again, and he looked her up and down. He wondered which maniac took a chance with her in a film. "All right, I won't tell anyone. Now tell me which movie you are going to act in." "Oh, it's a small movie, and I managed to snatch one of the major roles in it. The leads are both only B-listed actors. My schedule will start in about 2 weeks and I might become busy for the next 3 to 4 months. Her tone was full of pride. She was really proud of this opportunity. Junwon's eyes went wide upon hearing her. He only knew her for a few days and from what he saw her so far, she wasn't the type to lie. So this must be true. She was really acting in a movie. "How did you get the role?" "Oh that. I participated in an open audition. I didn't tell anyone that I was doing it and just did it cause I was bored. But the director liked what he saw when I did the part and immediately hired me. I even signed the contract last week. This would be my debut in the industry. Be sure to watch the movie." He nodded and went silent. It seemed like this girl really had talent even though she is completely aloof the entire time and has a very stubborn and irritating personality. "So, until my shooting starts in 2 weeks, I am mostly free. That is why I'm hanging out with you. I'm not just some busybody you know." She huffed and explained to him. She was really bored in the morning and had no plans that got her excited. Then she remembered he will be going to the company and decided to tag along. Don't you have some other friends in your circle? I'm sure all of them will be doing something good, especially now that it's mostly holidays. And do you not have to practice for the role you got? You shouldn't waste time on your debut film. As he immediately went into a lecturing tone as his old age showed itself. Hearing him, Hee-young couldn't take it and closed her ears before humming. After a few seconds, she looked at him and said, "Why are you nagging me like my dad? Sometimes you really act out of your age mentality. And what friends? Let me tell you, every single second-generation child is an idiot. They only care about how they look in front of others. Too fake for my taste." He shook his head and ignored her as he continued to do his work. Time quickly went by and it was already almost time for his shift to end. Hee-young really stayed there the whole time. Jimdo was shocked and almost passed out to see her sitting behind the counter when he came. After the time was up, he quickly changed back into his regular clothes and walked out with Hee-young. He noticed the red car outside and Hee-young waved her hand, asking him to hop in. He agreed as he didn't even know where this company was. If she wasn't there, he would have to go around asking where it was, and that was a big task. "Do you want to go and eat first or after we get that script?" As she turned on the car. "Let's get the script first and we will talk about the food later." He wanted to get that script in his hands as quickly as possible. "Alright then, hold on tight." She wore her sunglasses with a grin and stepped on the accelerator. A red car zoomed through the city and didn't stop until it reached its destination. Jun-won looked at her with a weird look. Throughout the journey, they didn't encounter even one red traffic light. Both got down before the company's entrance and a person quickly came out after noticing the car. Hee-young passed the keys to him to park and went inside with Jun-won. They went straight to the reception desk. Jun-won noticed the huge sign, "Glorious Production," behind the reception desk. The lobby room itself looked very fancy. Many people were sitting at the side, some with anxious expressions while others looked like they had all the confidence in the world. "I came to meet Uncle Wan. My name is Seo Hee-young. Is he in?" As she leaned over the desk, Hee-young asked the receptionist. The receptionist took the landline on her desk and dialed a number before asking about Hee-young. Her expression changed a little during the call before she ended the call and looked at Hee-young, a bit nervously. "Miss Seo, the president isn't available today. But his secretary is available and is coming down to receive you right now." Hee-young nodded before leaning back and waiting for the secretary to come down. Jun-won looked at her and asked in a low voice, "Did you never come here?" after seeing how she introduced herself and how the receptionist didn't know who she was. Hee-young shook her and replied, "Not really. I didn't have any work in this production company of Uncle Wan. I go to the agency company more to play with a few actresses I know there." She shrugged. She didn't have any business here because she was still not an actor, and if she was, she would probably come to talk business. CHCK4UST on no/V/L/bin. C0M. They only had to wait a few minutes before they saw a figure rushing out of the elevator towards them. The man was thin, looked young, but his hairline receded quite a lot and there were already a few gray hairs too. He looked exhausted but had a smile when he came up to Hee-young. "Miss Seo, you should have called and I would have told the president you were coming today. Is there anything I could do for you?" "Yes, I forgot to call Uncle Wan before coming." "Well, it's alright even if he wasn't here. This is Jun-won. Yesterday my uncle told him to come and take a script for an audition. Do you have it by any chance?" The secretary finally noticed the man standing beside Hee-young and exclaimed, "Oh, so it's this young man who the president told me about this morning before he went out. Right, he did tell me to provide you with a script for the audition. Let me make a call and ask for it." He turned around and made a call for the script. "See, it's this easy. If I wasn't here, you would probably have to wait for a long time." She turned around and threw a cheeky smile towards Jun-won. He simply nodded and didn't respond to her gloating. The guy turned around as the call ended and said, "The script will be here soon. Miss Seo, you should have given me a call instead of coming here. I would have sent someone to bring you guys the script." He tried to flatter her. Hee-young came from a big family with a lot of connections. So Jun-won found it understandable that he would try to flatter her. Hee-young, on the other hand, didn't even bother to respond to the guy's flattery. She had an expressionless face and simply stayed silent. The guy didn't seem to mind as he continued to flatter her. It didn't take long for another young man to come out running from the elevator with some papers in his hands. He went to the secretary and handed him the papers. The secretary took it and passed it to Jun-won with a smile. "Here is your script, young man. Looks like the president caught a new talent. I can see you will go very far in this industry. You can contact me if you have any problems." Jun-won grimaced as he felt the man changed his target to him. The guy didn't even give him a business card, but he told him to contact him. He couldn't be more fake about his intentions than that. "Now that the script is here, let's get going. I'm hungry," Hee-young turned and said before walking towards the exit. Jun-won gave a nod to the secretary before following behind her. As the two walked away, the young man beside the secretary asked, "Boss, who were those people that you came all the way down in a hurry?" The receptionist also leaned towards them a little, as she was also curious. When she called him earlier to inform him that people were asking for the president, she heard a loud, surprised voice from the other side before him speaking very anxiously. He never heard him like that, as he was a very proud man. She is someone even the president shows a level of respect to. The president was able to establish this company only because of her parents' help. Don't go around talking about this stuff with anyone and forget about what happened today. He warned the young man at the end before walking back towards the elevator. Meanwhile, Jun-won was ready in the car about to open the script. The first page only had 2 words, "for audition," in bold letters. As he was about to turn over the page, it was snatched away from his hand. He turned to the side and saw Hee-young driving with one hand while putting the script away with the other. "Don't read the script in the car. How can you have your eyes on that paper when there is such a beautiful girl next to you? You can read it after going home. Now tell me, where shall we have lunch?" Explore Todd TE stories at no/l/bin.cm. Jun-won was flabbergasted when he heard her narcissistic remarks. He didn't even ask her for the script back, because that would only make her more stubborn. He just looked out of the window and said, I don't care where, but not in a fancy restaurant. Let's go somewhere less sophisticated. Even though he loved the food in the fancy restaurant the day before, he hated how sophisticated it was, with many people around him and people coming and going out with dishes in their hands. He liked a simple restaurant better than that. There were too many options there, and he was the kind of person who preferred fewer options, which makes it simpler to order food, especially when he doesn't know most of the food on the menu. Alright then, I know just the place. I go there now and then. It's small but the old grandma there cooks some of the best food I ate. The place is also quiet, and not sophisticated. And continued driving after determining the destination. The car stopped after a few minutes at the end of a street. Hee-young stopped it to the side and got down. Jun-won looked around and noticed there weren't any restaurants around. Come, let's go. The place is in this alleyway. He saw her waving her hand and going inside an alleyway. Seeing her asking him to go inside an alleyway made the situation very weird, and he was alert. He slowly followed her, and she stopped at the end of the alleyway before a small restaurant. There wasn't even a proper signboard for the shop, and this made him doubt how she found this place. Hee-young opened the door and went inside while shouting, Hey grandma, I'm here again. I brought a friend with me this time. Get us both 2 fried rice with a few sides. Jun-won noticed most of the shop was empty, only a few people were present, having their food in silence. The whole shop only had 3 tables with 4 chairs for each table. Oh, young lady, you are here this week, too. You brought a friend too. Nice, come in, I'll quickly get you your food. Go ahead and sit. An old voice came from the other side of the cooking station and Jun-won finally noticed the old woman. Hee-young nodded and sat at a table while waving her hand towards Jun-won. Jun-won sat and asked, How did you even find this place? Well, it all started when my car almost ran over the poor grandma. Then She started explaining but was quickly cut off by Jun-won who had a shocked expression after hearing her first sentence. Wait, a minute. Don't just continue after saying you almost ran over the old lady there. What do you mean by almost running your car over? It's a miracle that you aren't in jail right now and why are you making it sound as if it's something simple? He was shocked at how casual she was when she told him that. That wasn't something to be casual about. Well, it's really nothing. Nothing happened except me hitting my brakes when that lady jumped in front of my car to die. If I didn't slam my brakes in time, I would have been in jail. That old woman wanted to die, and she found my car for it out of all the ones at that time. I was so angry at that moment. Jun-won was taken back at the sudden revelation of things. He thought of another scenario that made Hee-young look like a villain. He looked at the old woman who had a small smile on her face as she was holding a wok and cooking their food and would have never thought that the same woman wanted to jump in front of a vehicle to die. What's with that look on your face? Did you think of something else in that head of yours when I said I almost ran over a woman? Humph. You look at me like an idiot but who is one now? As if she could read his thoughts, he caught him by a rope. Before he could respond to her sarcastic comments and try to redeem himself, she continued, Anyway, I almost lashed out at the woman for her actions, but when I got down, the poor lady fainted. I panicked, thinking she was dead, and brought her to a nearby hospital. After a few tests, the doctor just told her she was tired, and she didn't eat for quite a while. So after she woke up from the hospital, I asked her why she did something like that and she told me her story. At that time she lost her son and daughter-in-law in a car crash. The insurance company at that time didn't give her the money by stating nonsense reasons and fooling her. Life didn't stop posing more problems to her after that. The loan their family took for opening their restaurant came knocking at the door. She was about to lose the restaurant her husband, who passed away already, and her son set up. She couldn't see it being taken and decided to take her life. Jun-won couldn't help but shake his head a little as he heard what the old woman had to go through. People at their age deserved rest and happiness, after all, they go through, but to face problems at times like that was not fair. He couldn't help but look at Hee-young in a new light. The girl was a narcissistic irritating idiot, but she had something many people these days didn't have. That was the willingness to help others. He can't deny the fact that she helped him by introducing her uncle. Now he heard she helped the old lady. If only she could be less cheeky and more mature for her age. She would be a nice person to be around. Then, what happened after that? Nothing happened after that. I wanted to help out the old lady, so I paid off her loan and asked my dad to provide supplies for this restaurant at lower rates. After that, the old lady started running the shop by herself. I tried her cooking once, and her fried rice is very good. So I come here once a week or so to eat it. Today it happened to be with you. That's the end of my fabulous story. Now praise me. Holding her head up high, waiting for some praises from her little junior. Jun-won couldn't care less about her thoughts as he waited for the food and he didn't have to wait long as it arrived quickly. The old woman placed the food on the table and said, Well, have some food, young lady. You were talking all this while. Hope you like the food, child. She turned to him at the end with a smile and walked back to attend to the other customers. Visit novelbin.cm for updates. He couldn't help but smile when he heard her call him a child. He was anything but a child inside. He accepted the plate and slowly ate some chicken fried rice along with the few sides they got. The food was really good and he could understand why someone like Hee-young would come to eat here. Both of them slowly had the fried rice before Jun-won walked up to the old woman and took out his purse to pay. He didn't want Hee-young to pay. Little brother, let me pay. I brought you here. As she took out her own purse to pay, Jun-won just pushed her purse back and asked the old woman, how much was it? Oh, both of you don't need to pay. She hurriedly denied him. No, we both ate, so tell how much. He insisted. Grandma, I already told you, this is a business. You need to make money when you provide food. No matter who it is. Hee-young stepped up and reminded her. The old lady nodded before telling Jun-won the cost. He paid her and both of them walked out. They got in the car and Hee-young dropped Jun-won near the supermarket. Before she drove off, she pushed her sunglasses and asked him, do you want a practice partner for that script? I can help you. After all, I did go through an audition too, so I can give you pointers. Jun-won shook his head and replied, I'm okay. You should practice your own lines for that movie. You don't want to be bad in your first movie. And walked away. Hee-young shrugged and drove away. You should have accepted her advice. The system that didn't speak the entire day came alive. Jun-won paused a few seconds before shaking his head and ignored the suggestion. He still didn't fully trust the system's so-called suggestions. He decided to go with what he felt, and he didn't see the need to get help from her. He already regarded that role as his and looked at the script in his hands. After reaching home, he sat down and sent a text to Yoonghwa if she reached her house. Her bus was early in the morning and she would have reached home by then. He didn't have to wait long as he received a reply that she was at home and was going to have an afternoon nap. He kept the phone aside after that and finally opened the script. It was only 2 papers long, and he saw how detailed it was. For each part in the script, there was an explanation of the scenario the character was in for the actor to understand the character's mentality a little to help in the acting. This script was more detailed and better than the amateur script their class wrote for their play. That script was all over the place and the actors had to do much more work to understand a character's mental state. It was hard especially for scenes that Jun-won had because of the number of emotions he had to show, like rage and jealousy at once. Jun-won slowly read through the entire script and kept it aside for a second. His character was actually very simple in it. He was a college student and mental support for the main character who goes through many problems. So most of his scenes were there to shine the main character in a better way. There were parts of the script where he had to show different emotions. There was one where he was angry at the second female lead because she cheated and broke the main character. He had to show a tinge of jealousy when the female lead asked about the lead instead of him. Overall, according to him, this audition script was taken out of some romantic drama. His confidence was the same even after he saw the script. He felt he could perform well and get the attention of the people judging him. He picked up the script and started to slowly go through each line, memorizing them while at the same time vocally trying which tone was better for each part. He was slowly organizing his skills and output. Time passed by and he checked his phone to see it was already 6 in the evening. He closed the script and kept it aside. Taking out his phone, he saw a message from Mo Yang, asking him to come out for a party. This guy was always out partying, trying to mix into the more popular and rich people in class and university. He dragged the old Jun-won into it too. Thinking for a second, he accepted the invite and texted back that he will be there. He still knew little about the culture, and the best way to find out was a social gathering like this one. He took a bath, changed into better clothes before walking out of the building. Mo Yang lived in the dorms and so they decided to meet up at the university gates. He didn't forget to bring his headphones as he listened to more music. He quickly reached the gates and waited for Mo Yang. He sent a message and started to wait for the man to come out. It didn't take him long to come out as Mo Yang came out and both of them made their way towards a pub. Man, it's good to go to a party with you again. You didn't come to any of the parties last week. But it looks like your hard work paid off and finally got a better ranking. Mo Yang joked as he slings his arm around Jun-won. Jun-won stared at the hand for a sec but didn't shake it off as he replied, yeah, I needed to get better marks to show back home. Right, how did you do? Got any better marks? Nah, man. Still the same old. But it's alright, I mean you live only once and university should be the time of your life. You should come out and make memories every opportunity you have. If you go out of this student life into the real world, it's the dogfight. So just lean back a little and relax. Acting as a philosopher. Yeah, you should relax and enjoy a little, but not like you. If you continue to be like that, they will eat you in the dogfight out there. Jun-won said to himself. So, where is the party tonight? Changing the topic as he couldn't hear any more philosophies from the guy's mouth, read latest CH at n/v/e/lbi.co/m. Oh, it's a nice place. You probably do not know any of the people there as most of them are from other departments. So try to blend in like me, make some friends and you will be good. Jun-won nodded, but he had no intention to make friends. He just wanted to sit back and see how things are. They also had pubs back in the kingdom, but most of it was only warriors and magicians sitting with a drink in their hands and chatting off about their long journeys and achievements. It didn't take them long to reach the pub. Jun-won looked at the flashing signboard which said Rosemary and noticed the long line. Pubs near universities had long lines irrespective of the date and if they had classes, the next day as many had the same mentality as Mo Yang. As he was about to walk towards the end of the line, Mo Yang stopped him and said with a cheeky smile, we don't need to be in the line this time. Just watch. As he walked up to the huge security at the door. He whispered a few words, shoved some money, and called Jun-won over. You paid money for that guy to get us in quicker. As they walked into a dark hallway and lights at the end of it, Jun-won could hear cheers and screams from the other end. It seemed rowdier than his past life. What? Of course not. He won't allow for simple money. If that's the case, many people would just throw a few cash in his face to get in quicker and the whole thing will become a bidding war. The people we are partying with tonight have a special person. His dad runs this pub as its manager, so I told him I came for his party and he agreed. These things are important, Jun-won. You have so many things to learn, but don't worry, I'll teach them all. He patted Jun-won's shoulder. Jun-won shrugged it off and looked ahead as they almost reached the end of the hallway, as the lights became brighter and the sound became louder. As he stepped onto the floor, he saw so many people in the tiny, confined space. With lights everywhere and loud music blasting from the speakers by the DJ at the front. He looked to the side and saw the bar with people drinking crazily before joining the dance floor in the center. Are all these people from our university? He asked Mo Yang. But got no reply. He turned around and saw Mo Yang already joining a group at the bar, drinking and laughing. He stood there, not knowing what to do. This atmosphere was very weird for a silence-loving guy like him. He finally noticed a few couches at the side of the dance floor and slowly made his way there. Most of the couches were empty because of the swarm of people on the dance floor, jumping around like crazy monkeys. He had to go through several drunk people to make it to his destination. He looked at the other couches and saw a few people taking in drugs and jumping back onto the floor to dance. He shook his head at how wild the definition of enjoyment was. He was such a boomer. As he continued to look around, he saw a server. Can I get a glass of water and another glass of juice? He yelled towards the server. The server reacted and looked at him like he was an alien. Coming towards him he asked, Sir, you asked for a glass of water and a glass of juice. trying to confirm the weird order he just received. CHCK4UST on no/V/L/bin.C0M. Junwon nodded and asked, is there a problem? I don't know if we have some juice, sir. I'll ask, and if there is some, I'll bring it to you. And excused himself. Junwon didn't expect that response. No juice? So these guys have only alcohol here? How much is the juice? Ignored and not ordered for them to not have it. He didn't want alcohol as he had it the earlier day. He just came out to check things out, not to get drunk. He leaned back and continued to look around the whole pub. He noticed Mo Yang was already drunk and on the floor dancing with some women. It didn't take long for the server to come back and give him his glass of water and another glass of orange juice. He slowly enjoyed his drink in peace until a woman stumbled out of the floor onto the couch he was sitting on. Luckily the couch was in a U shape and big enough to fit 5 people. He looked at the drunken lady as she slowly pushed herself up and sat properly. She looked around and picked up the glass of water he didn't touch and leaned back. Damn it, I shouldn't have come. She stretched her body and looked at the dance floor while mumbling. The girl didn't even notice him sitting and drinking on the couch. She looked pretty beautiful and was probably a university student. Along with her long brown hair, her blue eyes made her attractive. He placed the glass down, making some sound and catching the girl's attention. The sound seemed to spook her as she looked around and finally spotted him sitting in the middle of the couch. Why, where did you come from? I thought I was sitting here alone, and what's that? Juice? You are drinking juice? Go back home and drink milk. It surprised her at first but started dissing him, a complete stranger in her mental state. He decided to ignore her and just took out his phone. He went through some news headlines, minding his own business until he smelled strong alcohol near him. He looked up and saw the lady was now beside him. What are you looking at? News? You are looking at the news in a bar? Man, that's why nerds shouldn't come out of their rooms and go to pubs like this. He raised an eyebrow at her statement and moved aside. He wanted nothing to do with the drunken lady. That was just asking for trouble that he didn't want any. As he moved, that woman also slightly moved towards him. He looked at her and said, don't come and stick your body towards me. I want nothing to do with you. You should probably go home already. Look how drunk you are. I'm not drunk. I'm perfectly fine. It's you who is drunk. You are pushing away a beautiful lady like me. Wait, are you into men? Now I understand. It's okay, buddy. The society is changing and people will accept you. She drew her own conclusions, making him flabbergasted. He shook his head and stood up to move away. The girl reminded him a bit of Hee-young, but Hee-young wasn't drunk by the time they met, even though she was equally irritable. As he stood up, he felt his hand was grabbed and looked behind to see she caught his hand while almost falling asleep. He looked at the sleeping girl for a second and removed her hand before sitting on the opposite side. He couldn't leave a sleeping girl in a pub. That was dangerous. He continued to sit on the seat until a group of women came to the couch and started to wake up the women who fell asleep opposite to him. They shook her until she was awake and talked to her for a few seconds before helping her out of the pub. Through the entire process, just like the lady before, they didn't notice Junwon sitting there. Seeing the group make their way out of the pub, he leaned back on the couch and continued to drink the juice. The pub atmosphere was the same, people still jumping around, and he was getting bored with it. He drank the whole thing and stood up. He looked around for Mo Yang but couldn't find the man in the swarm of people on the dance floor. He didn't want to get flooded in that crowd and simply sent the man a text before walking out. As soon as he came out, he took a deep breath. The air inside was mixed with all kinds of smells like sweat, drinks, cigarettes, and drugs. It was suffocating. He looked to the side and saw the same group of girls again, patting the lady's back as she vomited everything she had in her stomach. Visit novelbin.c/m for the L-test updates. He turned around as he was about to walk off. He heard someone calling for him from behind, "Excuse me," making him turn around. It was one of the girls in the group. She was pretty short and had long black hair. She pushed her glasses up and thanked him. "Thank you for looking out for my friend back inside. We couldn't thank you inside because of all the noise in her state. I guess luck is on our side as you came out quickly." She spoke completely normally, and it didn't look like she drank any alcohol. Junwon nodded and replied, "It's all right. Your friend was pretty drunk and spoke a lot of nonsense. Take her back home." And turned around to go back. "Ah, can I know your name and where I can find you? My friend wouldn't let me live if she didn't know the person who took care of her when she was drunk. She is the type of person who likes to pay people back. So please try to understand." He looked over his shoulder, raised his eyebrow, and replied, "It's all right. She doesn't need to pay anything back to me. I'm perfectly okay with it. I didn't take care of her or anything, she and I sat on the same couch. That's all." He wore his headphones and walked away, ignoring any more calls from behind. As he reached home, he took off the earphones and got inside the kitchen to cook himself some quick dinner before going to sleep. He was exhausted and so took out an instant noodle packet to cook and eat. After having dinner, he sat on the couch and took out the script for a while. Having some more reads before sleep, he jumped on the bed. The next day back in the supermarket, Junwon sat down on his chair for some rest as Ga-soo attended the customers in his place. He took out his phone and sent a text to Younghwa. It was time to know what was going on with his sister to worry Minsok so much. He received a reply as soon as he sent a text and he slowly started to explain the situation to her. He wanted her to know where she was going every night and coming back home so late. Her exams were only a few weeks away, and it was time for her to concentrate on them. She was smart and could get into a good university if needed. Younghwa immediately agreed to his request, and he asked her to go to Yoonhee's high school at 5, which was the time the classes end for the final year students. She sent her a picture of Yoonhee so she could recognize her. She agreed to find out what Yoonhee would be up to as a payback for his help the past week. He thanked her once again before closing the phone and continuing his work. After completing his work, he went back home, cooked some lunch, and started his practice. The exam was the next day, and he got most of the emotions and lines down and the next was practice. He shut himself in the house and continued to practice his lines over and over again until he felt it was good enough. He used his phone to record each section to review and do it again if there were notable mistakes. As he was practicing, he received a message from Do-won and told him his appointment was at 2 the next day and also told him to be on time. After sending him a thank you, he continued to practice once again. As time passed by, he finally received a call and he checked to see it was from Younghwa. His heart started to beat quicker than his thoughts turned dark about the situation. He picked up the phone and heard Younghwa from the other side. Junwon, your sister is working in an underground bar. What kind of work? She is acting as a waitress for the bar. But this place isn't good to act as a waitress at all. All types of gangsters and drug addicts are lying around. I asked another waitress and she told me that your sister came here for work a month ago. A month ago, that was way back before he entered this body. It looked like his sister was working in a bad place, filled with misfits everywhere. That was dangerous for a teenage girl and he hoped nothing happened to her. Can you hand over the phone to her for me? I'll talk. And Younghwa agreed and he heard her footsteps along with the music in the background. Yoonhee? This phone call is for you. He heard Younghwa on the other side shouting through the blasting music. Ah. What? Hello, who is this? He finally heard his sister's voice for the first time.